I think if you want to change, there needs to be accountability. So it's so easy to say, you're my mentor. I think a lot of people mistake mentor and role model.
100%.
So like, you're my role model. If you're my role model, it just means I aspire to be a bit like you in certain areas of your life, but that there's no accountability. I personally believe that anybody who gets a mentor or a coach will see a major growth in themselves, a major development, just because you're focusing on it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reasons why we don't get as far as we should is we're not accountable.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Conveying Stories podcast, powered by 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗬𝗜𝗓. Today I'm very excited on two counts. First, we have an awesome light. How awesome is that?
Very
and
cool.
Secondly, I've got my first celebrity on the show, Cindy Norcott. Cindy, you know, one of those things, when I think of Cindy Norcott, I think of many hats. So someone that wears many hats. Someone that wears many hats, is versatile, adaptable, and has many roles. If I had to read her accolades, I think we'd probably be here until tomorrow morning. So rather than do that, I'd just like to introduce her and say, welcome, Cindy. I'm very excited for you to be on the podcast.
Thank you, Ralph. It's really lovely to be here. And yeah, when you said celebrity, I was looking behind me. I don't know who you were referring to, but it's wonderful to be here. And I'm a big fan of your company. And, you know, your company's been a big supporter of my charity, the Robin Hood Foundation, since your company's inception. So we go back a long way.
Yeah.
And lots of great relationships.
100%. Cindy, let's roll back the hands of time. Let's go back to when you were 10 years old.
Yeah.
What is Cindy Norcott doing? What is she dreaming?
So I was living in East London with my family, and I don't think I was dreaming very big. I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
But I think at that stage I knew about 4 careers, so it seemed like the right thing for me. and in a way, I think I probably do a lot of teaching in terms of, you know, hosting training events and motivational speaking. And I used to own a training company, training entrepreneurs. So maybe I have been teaching anyway.
Yes,
you know, in a bit.
indirectly,
Yeah.
And then how did you land up in Durban?
My dad got a transfer, and we moved to Durban a year later when I was 11 years old. And then I've been in Durban ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
And school growing up, studies, or tell us a bit about your journey.
So when I finished matric, I went to the University of Durban, KZN, and I studied a social science degree, majoring in marketing and economics and industrial psychology. I then started studying my honors in industrial psychology, and I finished varsity at 20, so I was quite young, and I started working in recruitment.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did some of your early sort of life experiences channel or influence the way or where you are at the moment?
So I think for me, growing up in a family where we didn't have a lot of money, so it was a case of from 15, if anything you want in life, you can earn it. You go out there and get a job. So I think I started working at 15. I worked in shops. I worked in, I did a lot of like babysitting. Then in varsity, I paid all my own fees through various jobs. So I was literally, I was waitressing and doing promotions and market research and retail. So I was a very busy student.
Busy and also obviously passing your studies at the same time.
Of course, big nerd.
And Cindy, tell me, I read a story, I don't know if it's in one of your books. You've written 2 books, is that right?
Yeah.
Where you said that, you actually started recruiting students and actually started your own recruitment company in that way, the way you actually started recruiting students and placing them into jobs?
Yes. So before I started my own business, I worked at a company called StudentWise, or it was called Grab a Student in those days, many years ago. And I worked there for 2 years. And I think, when you work somewhere for somebody else, you don't really know what goes into a business. And I think it was naivety or it was arrogance, but I was like, I can do this so much better. I'm going to start my own business and it's going to be even better. And I started Student Temps. So my business that is now known as Pro Talent was called Student Temps. And the first probably 5 to 10 years was mainly about student employment, placing students in various jobs, waitering, stock takes, so many people I know have worked as a student for me or through me over the years. I think it was really good experience. Getting people for anyone who is a student, just to go out there and have some exposure to the working world and to make their own money. I think money that you earn on your own, you spend very wisely.
And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but that was 30 years ago.
That was 30 years ago. So
March, your business is 30 years old.
Yes, in March it turned 30.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So what is your secret to success? I mean, 30 years in business, and that is phenomenal.
So I think it's about reinvention. Like, you can't adapt. You have to adapt. You can't sort of say, well, this is the business model. We've had to adapt it. I mean, for the last 10 years, we haven't placed students at all. The market changed. Also, like, over the years, we initially were a big temp agency. Now we're a specialist recruitment agency for perm placements. We're doing a lot of remote work. That's the one thing, I think, being adaptable and pivoting, like, Ross and Friends, like pivot, and over COVID, more pivoting. But I think even more importantly, hiring great people. Yeah. So, without my great people, this business would not have succeeded, because I wear too many hats. So I'm not actively recruiting, and I haven't been for probably 15 years. First 15 years, yes, but having great recruiters, great staff, great management has been the secret of success, because whilst that business has been going, I've been motivational speaking, I've been running Robin Hood, I've been running around like a crazy woman that I am. So if it was up to me, I wouldn't have been able to do that and all the other things. So it's definitely due to the awesome team. Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, one of the hats that you wear is a mom, right?
Yes.
So,
that one.
So I mean, so I mean, in 30 years of business, creating that business and getting it going, that must have been quite tough.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the story, but my oldest daughter, Hannah, honestly thought her name was Quickly until she was 3. No, it would be quickly in the car, quickly out the car, quickly in the bath. And she'd go, yes, mom. And, and then the second one, Lexi, thought her name was Not Now, because it was like always, sort of wearing other hats. And it's probably one of my regrets is that I was so involved in business that often my job as a mom was a secondary job, and looking back now, it's like you think, I made a lot of sacrifices. They turned out to be incredibly hardy, resilient children. They always say a little dose of neglect is good, but it creates independence and resilience. But I do believe that if I talk to young mums now who are business owners, I tend to want to encourage them to take time out to be with their kids, and it's something I do a lot now. And since my kids were in high school, but the early years, I definitely was far too work focused, massive workaholic. Good and a bad thing. But I mean, I think you said your kids have turned out resilient and are successful. So I think it's a great testament to your parenting. So well done. And my husband, I think, he's a great dad.
Yeah, once again, a good team. Exactly, so it just shows the importance of a good team. And then let's just sort of dive into the Robin Hood Foundation.
Yes.
So how did that get going? What is the origin story of the Robin Hood Foundation?
So Robin Hood turned 19 in May this year. Sure. And it started when my second daughter was born, my little girl, Lexi. The one night I was changing her, and she had literally outgrown her brand new, like one of her brand new baby grows. And I looked at that and I thought, gosh, I could clothe so many people, so many babies with what I've got in my cupboards just from my own home. And I counted, she had 84 baby grows, which is a lot, I'm not really a minimalist. So then I contacted a friend the next day and I said, let's start something. I said, you've had your final baby, and what if we ask all our privileged, and I put that in brackets, friends who've had children, because we all have a similar age and stage. I said, let's ask them to give us their items, and then we can start something. Let's call it Love the Babies. We'll put a baby shower in a bag. We'll go to the local St. Mary's hospital and see if we can help, and what happened from there was just an eye-opening experience, going into hospitals where moms either had nothing, like literally would take their babies. We heard of stories where moms were taking babies home in newspaper or in a towel or their jersey. And, I think why I think this was important for me was the fact that people like myself had stuff in cupboards we had an excess of stuff, of material goods that would make such a massive material difference to a poor mom, yet we were hanging on to it. And everyone felt the same, but they didn't know where to start. So I think it was a case of saying, listen, if you trust us with these valuable items, we will have a very transparent approach to almost a redistribution of scarce resources from those who have to those who have not. Yeah. So, to me, I've seen it as almost a measure to address inequality. Also, remember that once that mum, her baby outgrows those items, she's going to give it to somebody else. So it's going to create a ripple effect in a poor community as well. And that's how Robin Hood started, was love the babies. But then we started getting people saying, oh, we'll give you food, we'll give you things like what do you need? We can give you kitchen items. And then we started doing Gogo Bags for the grannies. And then it's kind of exploded from there. And now up until last week, we had a thank you function for our volleys, our volunteers. They are affectionately called volleys. But we worked out, we've done over 90 odd projects already this year. So it's an amazing amazing movement of good. It's incredible.
But how did you get the time?
It wasn't me. It was us. It was never me. I think there's no I in team, as you've seen in this. There's no I in team. So we've always had a great coordinator. So from year 4, I think, or year 5, we got a coordinator. And every person we've employed has added value to the team. But I think the gold of what we do is we've got a core of volunteers. And these are all people probably aged from about 55 to 85. And they are committed. When I say committed, they basically, they get a weekly agenda of what we're doing, which projects, and then they put their names down and they arrive. But we've formed a family of purpose. So these volunteers, it meets so many of their needs. Their need for significance, their need for purpose, their need for community and connection. So I think it's fun. I think that's what we've got right. So that when they're packing bags, it's fun. There's often music. There's always treats, big hugs, and people have developed community. And Ralph, the biggest, most telling thing that happened was, the worst thing we could have done was COVID. We sent all our volunteers home. We said, no, we're not meeting. We can't afford to have you sick and die. And I think the prevailing thought from the volunteers was, well, we're not really living. We're sitting at home. We'd rather risk dying than living safe, but not living. We need to make a difference. And that's when we started the chicken stew for the soul. So basically during the lockdown, we would meet every day for several months, and we made 500 liters of chicken stew and basically chicken stew every day, which then went into poor communities. And this helped so many poor communities, but I think it helped us more. The volunteers really got the sense of purpose back, the sense of community. And what we found was there were so many people who were isolated, depressed, lonely, anxious, numb, disconnected, and they started coming to our Sami Army. And then from there, they started going to storage and starting going to projects, started helping distribute. So I think we saw the positive effect of having a purpose, and I think a lot of people felt like they'd lost that. Sure.
And do you have particular relationships within the community, where the disadvantaged communities where you go into? Because I know I'd love to also give things, but I often don't have that avenue, and I always feel I don't want to overstep my boundaries and that type of thing. To go and execute something like that and go to the hospital and say, listen, I've got baby girls, that takes certain guts and some sort of,
So when I started, obviously we didn't know anyone. We just kind of were like phoning St. Mary's Hospital, who is the PRO, phoning around. Obviously, I'll give you an example. Somebody like Dawn Lepan, a person I admire, she's an incredible woman. I'd always known about the work she did at 1,000 Hills Community Helpers. So when we started getting donations, of things that we needed to distribute, I knew she was helping a massive community. So, I connected with her, and then we connected with social workers and pastors, and then we went into other areas, Hammersdale, Tongaat, Verulam, Chesterville, and going into other areas. We've even sent stuff to Zimbabwe. We've sent stuff to areas where there've been disasters. You know, wherever we can help.
Yeah.
You know, we're not a disaster relief agency, but I think when there's a disaster, it doesn't matter what your mandate says. You've got to get involved. If you can help, you must.
Yes.
You know.
If you can, you must. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so, if you to summarize the Robin Hood Foundation's why into a short sentence, what is the Robin Hood Foundation's why?
You know, I think a lot of it is, as I said earlier, it's understanding that some people have so much and some people have so little, and I think it's creating a logistical path of integrity.
Yes.
Where people know that if they've got extra, they can give it to us, and we will make sure it goes directly into the hands of the poor or the poorest that we can identify. We're not creating dependence in one community. We're trying to spread the love. A lot of it isn't even just giving stuff. A lot of it is building hope. So, like, I'll give you an example. Our Bless a Granny project. We go and visit 3,500 grannies and grandpas every year. These are grandparents who are at TAFTA homes or other government sponsored homes or very, very poor homes, and we take them their gift. They've written down. The matron has asked them what they want. They've told.
Sure.
They've written it down. They're so excited. We go there and we bring the fun. We bring a party. We sit. We hold hands. We give them tea. We listen. So it's not just about the gift. It's about, for that day, they are important. They look forward to that day. And we get the feedback all the time. This is the best day of the year. And it's not just about stuff, because we also go to the schools for disabled children. So like our annual 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗬𝗜 party, where it's a school for disabled kids. I know 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗬𝗜 attorneys are big supporters and fans of that and always help us. But there we bring the funfair to the children. So yes, they get a goodie bag at the end. We take some items that will benefit the school. But the whole gist of it is, how can we make today special for this person? So it's random acts of kindness done with integrity, done with thought, and done with dignity. So like, for instance, tomorrow is Mandela Day, and we are taking the Mahala market to Nchanga, and we are hoping to have 550 people shop for Mahala, which means for free. And and it's done with dignity. We've sorted out the donations. There's nothing there that's holy or in bad condition. We've bought all the food, or it's been donated. Everything is going to be, top quality items, and the people are treated with love and dignity and respect. We serve them tea and coffee. We talk to them. We connect with them. We help them carry. So it's about unity. I think it's about, like, it's not we are there to help them. It's us. Let's help us. Let's just make life easier for us. We are us,
100% community. So
and breaking
important.
down barriers as well.
And have you ever had it that someone wasn't grateful for what you've given them, where there's almost like a sense of entitlement, and they thought, getting a handout, and they thought, well, is this all I get? Or do you not really get that? Is it more just a lot of, I heard you say once, attitude of gratitude? A lot
of people are very grateful, but we've had situations where often people don't say thank you. I think sometimes they're overwhelmed. I think sometimes they're not used to receiving. If you're not used to receiving, how do you know to thank someone? If you're getting something, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. And I think sometimes, yes, you're right. Maybe we're going into community and, they need the stuff, and, maybe they're not showing it. But the fact that they are there participating and taking the items and using them shows that it is of value to them, And remember, we're not doing it for the thanks. We're doing it because this is purpose-driven work. We know that by going into that old age home, we're lifting the spirits of the people. We know by that celebration of life at 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗬𝗜, those children are smiling for weeks afterwards, and they're excited for weeks running up. So, I think for people whose lives are dreary, monotonous, hopeless, I think we're offering hope. And I remember reading in Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart, despair is believing like that tomorrow will be just like today. And I think what we're trying to do is create some hope as well, being bearers of hope, showing people the best side of humanity, that we're here to serve. We're here to serve with love and to do it in a fun, dignified way. And and also with a sense of abundance. So I don't want to go into community and you get one little thing. Like, that's why we love the Mahala markets. You choose. What do you need? Choose it. You take it, and if it fits in the bag, take it, you know. And it's not greedy. It's not a grab fest. People are normally very, very orderly and patient, and they have fun. They know what they want and they know what they need. And you know what I've also realized, Rolf, is a lot of those gogos that a gogo is a Zulu word for a granny, in case anyone wasn't sure, but they're not shopping for themselves. We did a project once called Choose Your Shoes, and the ladies were given a see-through bag, a transparent bag, and we said choose 5 pairs of shoes. And say a lady was a size 6, she wouldn't have one pair of size 6 shoes. They were all for her grandchildren or children.
Sure.
You know, so it just shows the selflessness of the heart of the gogo. You know, so we've learned a lot as well. We've learned a lot. Yeah.
And you've mentioned fun probably about 5 or 6 times. So how do you bring the fun? Like, what is the secret to fun? Because I also believe you have to. You know, one of my sort of sayings in the office is also like, you smile. You always have just smile even when you're on the telephone. Smile.
Yes.
How important is it to have that fun element?
So I think fun comes from passion. So I get such a kick from doing our projects. It's one of my top things in life that I love doing, is random acts of kindness and getting involved. And so it's not a chore, it's not a duty. And I often think if workplaces were like our volunteer group, we would have the most incredible economy. So I think it's the fact that people are doing it for no pay. I think if they were paid, it almost would take the blessing away, or it would take the joy away. So I think everyone's going there knowing that they are going not to receive, but they're going to give. There is no sense of trading. It's a sense of like, I'm here to be of service. So I think a life of service is fun.
Yeah.
I think it really is. And I think so many people are not happy because they're measuring their life by what they've got, not by what they've given.
Yes.
So I look at our volunteers or the community or the corporates that come to these projects, and they walk away going, that was fun. And I think it was fun because it was emotional. You know, I think a lot of the work we experience, we have a narrow band of emotion. It's almost like a numbness. We just exist, we work, we focus. We don't have emotional highs and lows. So I think when you experience true emotion is when you have fun. So you cry with someone, you laugh with someone, you know, you joke with someone, you feel their pain. I mean, last year at the Mahala market, oh gosh, there was this old man. He was very thin. He was very old. And he came in, he didn't have a ticket. It was right at the end. And we had to divide what we had. I had a big box of fudge, like massive, of fudge sugar, crumbs, and a bunch of spinach. And he sat there and he had to choose. It broke my heart. He chose the spinach, you know, and I thought that was probably 15 Rand.
Yeah.
You know, but so I think you walk away and you feel something. And I think many of us live in that narrow band of not feeling much. And when you put your heart on the line and you do stuff like that, where you're meeting people where they are, and you're sensing their excitement, their desperation, their whatever it is, their joy, it can only rub off. And I think that is fun. That is my version of fun.
I love that, yeah, fun and community. I think those go hand in hand. I think you can't separate the two, you know. Not many people have fun by themselves, you know.
Exactly.
And it's really so important to have that team around you, and the community around you. Taking a step back, before we were chatting about, you know, having a mentor, how important are mentors, and how does someone find a mentor?
So I have an opinion about mentorship. I think a lot of people are looking for one person to be it for them. And I think that's quite a big responsibility on the mentor, because I've had a lot of people come up to me saying, you are my mentor. I'm like, oh no, please no. I don't have time for this, you know, because, you know, now they've appointed you, and now there comes a set of responsibilities and requirements now that you are the said mentor for this person. I think mentorship needs to take different forms, and I think people should not get all their wisdom from one person. So, for instance, if I were looking for a parenting mentor, I've got friends who have children older than mine who I would go to for advice because I see how they've raised their children. you could have a mentor in business around leadership or around marketing or around finance or around personal drive or self-esteem issues. I think we should go to different people for different things. And I also think that mentorship doesn't have to be us sitting together in the room. It can involve voice notes, it can involve email, it can involve Zoom. So I think a lot of people see mentorship as that we must meet at a coffee shop and, I've got a list of 40 questions. Yeah. So often when people ask me to mentor them, and I have mentored many people over the years, but I will say to them, can we keep it loose? Email me and I can then respond at my leisure, and I will respond. But I don't believe it has to be this, okay, you are my mentor and it now has to follow a rigorous 12-month program. Yes. So and sometimes, so I think I have a loose idea of what mentorship is. I think it can be reverse mentorship. So I'm being mentored by a younger person in my company who is incredible at social media, and she's taught me things I never knew. So I think we need to be open. It doesn't have to be somebody older, and we can mentor each other. So I've belonged to mastermind groups with other business owners where we've all kind of helped each other. Yeah. So no one person knows more. And I have been mentored. When I started my business 30 years ago, I had a mentor. His name was Andrew, and he worked with me for about 3-4 years. Sure. And we'd meet regularly. We did meet in person, and I did have a list of questions, but I enjoyed the accountability, and I enjoyed working with someone who was further along the road than I was.
So, I've never had a formal mentor. But I've always, considered myself almost maybe a mentor to some of our staff and friends. But do you reckon the mentorship has to have a bit of a formal accountability aspect, or is it just looking up to a person?
I think if you want change, there needs to be accountability. So it's so easy to say, you're my mentor. I think a lot of people mistake mentor and role model. 100%. So you're my role model. If you're my role model, it just means I aspire to be a bit like you in certain areas of your life, but that there's no accountability. I personally believe that anybody who gets a mentor or a coach will see a major, major growth in themselves, a major development, just because you're focusing on it. And I think a lot of the reasons why we don't get as far as we should is we're not accountable. And we lie to ourselves. We give ourselves so many excuses. There's a saying, people are defined by their excuses. And I think when you've got a mentor who's invested in you or a coach who's invested in you, they're not buying those lies and excuses, And so I think that's an important thing. And I'm a big believer in self-investment. Like, the best return in investment is not buying shares in anything else. It's in your own personal development. So if anyone feels like they're not achieving what they should, get a mentor, get a coach. Just by paying that person and being invested financially, you're going to probably become emotionally invested in the process.
That's very good advice. And Cindy, are there any sort of, you've mentioned, the Bless the Babies, the Grannies, the Mahala Market, the Intermini. What is one of the sort of success stories of Robin Hood Foundation that stands out? It could be an individual that's made an emotional impression on you, or is there anything that sort of stands out?
I've got this story. It was years ago. It's such a silly story, but I was reading the Caxton Highway Mail. Okay. It was on a Wednesday, and there was a story with this lady, a Gogo, sitting outside her broken down home. And it said, Gogo needs a good Samaritan. I know, because I still have that cutting. And I looked at that and I thought, oh gosh, this is what we do. We help people. But and then I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to leave it. If by Friday somebody comes to me, this was Wednesday, and says something about this, Gogo needs a house, I did feel like the stirring to help her, but I was like, no, I'm so busy, and Anyway, on the Friday, a friend came to our house. We just moved into a new estate. This friend arrived, not a close friend at that stage, and as he walks into the door, he said, Cindy, I read something this week, and I thought we could. I said, it's the Gogo who needs the house. So he goes, yes, how did you know? And he pulls out this. And I said, okay, we're going to build a Gogo house. And then it's amazing when you are meant to do something. I believe in there's no coincidences but God incidences, and there were literally ripples of. Then I had a friend of his who's a project manager said, "I'll project manage the house," and then Bill had said, "We'll give you materials."
Jeepers.
A person who owned a furniture factory phoned and said, would you like to furnish her house?
Yeah.
So, and they asked me, would she like a lazy boy? Her name was Esther. I said, yes, Esther would love a lazy boy. I mean, it was crazy. A spa gave us money for food. I mean, we literally equipped this house in a matter of days. So it was a simple project if you think about it, but just the impact it had on her and her children and her grandchildren. But I think it was more just the supply of everything that we needed. So I'm a firm believer, if God gives you the vision, he gives you the provision. So we got it all. We just got it all. It was just like unbelievable. And then my dad, who was doing deliveries for us that day, it was so weird. We were handing over the keys to the house to this lovely Gogo and very delighted family. And we noticed there was no rug on the floor. And I was thinking, how did we miss this? Then my dad phoned me as I was leaving and he said, Cindy, you won't believe it. Somebody gave me a rug, this big rug. He says, it's all the way through my car. It's sticking out the window. He says, what do I do with it? I said, take it to the Gogo house. And it was just so funny that, so that was a beautiful story. Yeah. On top of that, we've done loads of entrepreneurial conferences where we've had top speakers like 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗬𝗜𝗚 Gigi Alcock, top business people come and instill their knowledge and skills onto young unemployed youth. And I can't tell you the countless times I've been in a shopping center or a store or somewhere and somebody's come to me and said, you changed my life, or your conference impacted me, or and like how and the stories of how somebody went to that conference and was in a bad situation and they changed their life. And so you never know the impact. I suppose you never know.
Jeez. Yeah. And speaking of conferences, you've spoken at a lot of conferences. You've done a lot of public speaking yourself. How does someone get into public speaking? And did you have a mentor in that specific realm of your life?
Ralph, if I go back to my school days, it was my biggest fear was public speaking.
Really?
I couldn't say my orals.
Ways.
I wouldn't know my name. I wouldn't know how to. I was a mess, an absolute mess. And I remember my mentor, Andrew, saying to me, if you want to build your brand, this is now like 25 years ago, people weren't talking about that stuff. Yeah. He said, become a speaker. And I said, but you don't understand. I'm pathologically fearful. And he said, just start. And the weirdest thing is I started saying to people, I'm a speaker. And people saying, can you speak? So that would be my advice to anyone is just speak. And even if people don't invite you to speak, start a podcast, video yourself, do a Facebook Live. I think the world of the way, we're going in terms of people, wanting to see video content. You don't need to be invited to speak. You don't need to go to a conference and be paid. I think offer to speak. And the other thing I would encourage is people say, I don't know what to speak about. And I say, absolute nonsense. We all have a story. And often when I talk to a group, I say, what could you speak on for an hour? I mean, what can you is it, I think, parenting.
Parenting or my photography is my passion, so I could talk on photography for hours and hours. And
you probably have at least 10 topics that you could put onto a bio right now and become a speaker. What I've realized is that the world loves listening to people speaking and watching videos more than they like reading what people have written. So I would encourage people, if you want to speak. Tell people that you speak. Offer. There's charities, there's causes, there's organizations that are always looking for free speakers. So let me tell you, the first 500 speeches I did were probably, most of them were free, most of them were probably terrible, but the point is I did it. And Malcolm Gladwell talks on the 10,000 hours.
Yes.
You want to speak, just go out there and speak. And so what if you mess up? I think what helped me is that I'm not a perfectionist. So I think I've got a very low standard. 80% is great. So if I've messed up a bit, I'm like, that's fine. And I don't overthink. I move on, next one. Try better, next time. So I find a lot of people are like, no, it's got to be perfect. There's got to be a way. No, I think genuine, authenticity, just being vulnerable, being funny if you're funny, be quirky if you're quirky. Don't polish out the uniqueness of you when you speak. I think sometimes people, say different things and
But you have such a gift with regards to being relatable. I mean, like all the talks that I've listened to, you've like even that story about calling your daughter quickly and that's so relatable. But like, I mean, do you listen to or do you watch a lot of what's it called stand-up comedians and stuff like that, comedy shows, or is it just you just got that gift of
and I think I would also encourage people, don't try and be like someone else. Don't say, well, that guy says that joke, let me try. Also I think people like authenticity. So if I hear you speak about something, then I hear that it's actually been said before by somebody more famous, I sort of lose respect in a way. So I think do your own jokes, make your, and the best person to joke about is yourself. You know what? No one can moan at you for that. So I would encourage people and if they want inspiration, draw inspiration from other people. Absolutely.
No, that is awesome advice. And I mean, we sort of touched on it, but is there such a thing as work-life balance?
I think there are seasons. I've always been overbalanced towards work. However, I love what I do. I absolutely love working, and so for me, work isn't work; it's fun. But I think there's seasons, and I think there's consequences as well. We've got to pay the price, So what I do is I take a Sabbath. This is something that I've only been doing for the last 5 years. So I'm a bit of a slow starter. There was a book I read, Take the Day Off. I read it during COVID. And they reckon if you don't take a Sabbath, you'll soon need a sabbatical. And so I try and have one day of the week where I don't work. And when I say work, is sit at my computer, do the work that I do. And I think that's been incredibly good for my soul. I think balance is also about having boundaries. So I once went to a talk where the lady said she had a 10 to 10 rule. By 10 to 10 at night, she doesn't work. And I thought, shame, what a loser. She works so hard. The next night, I was on my laptop at 11 o'clock at night, and I thought, I need a rule. So, I do have rules about, I don't want to work after certain time at night, and I definitely don't want to work on that one day of the weekend. And I think it's important to have boundaries and to have no's. If my phone rings with a client, after a certain time at night, I will ignore it till the next day. Okay. You know what I've realized? We always say, but it's urgent, and I've realized I'm not a paramedic or an air traffic controller, so not much is urgent, really. You know what I mean? So it's no buildings are going to burn down because I didn't answer my phone. And I think a lot of us have an overdeveloped sense of our own importance. That's why we don't have the boundaries, but they need me. Who's they, and what do they need you for?
It's definitely, the boundaries are so important. I don't know if you've read that book, Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud.
Twice. I'm a slow learner there. I've battled with that. I've really battled, and I think anyone who loves what they do will battle with boundaries, because you love it, and if you're passionate about your business, you want to please your clients, or or you're an employee and you want to please your managers, and so you give and give and give. So it's an ongoing struggle.
Definitely. So how do you? I mean, you've got the Sabbath, but how do you relax? Do you go to Egypt, or do you drink wine, or what do you do to relax?
What I'm doing a lot these days is quite a lot of exercise. So I play paddle.
Nice. You should play against Marco. He's quite a pro.
I don't want to do that. I'm not that good. And I do gym twice a week. I do Pilates once a week. I walk, I run. Every night we walk our dogs. And my husband and I think that's really good. So I do things that sort of are calming. I read a lot. I have a huge friendship circle, so I'm always talking to friends and socializing with friends. Travel is my passion. So I try and travel as much as possible. Watch this space. This next year is going to be epic. Awesome. Cool. I've got a lot going on. I'm off to Croatia on Friday. This is a new season.
Sure.
It's a new season. And I'm giving myself permission to do the things that I said one day I would do. And I realized one day is now.
So you got that bucket list going.
It's going strong.
Yeah, awesome. So Croatia's on the bucket list. What else? What are some of the other things on your bucket list?
I want to do the Camino next year.
Okay.
And I'm doing the whale walk in 2 months' time.
Sure.
Got a few trips to Cape Town coming up. Trip to the Berg. And yeah, a bit more international travel over the next few years.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And Cindy, if there was a movie made about you, who would be your character, the main character, and what would the title of the movie be?
Jeez, I don't know who would act. I would love to say somebody beautiful and young, but I don't think so. It's funny. There's the book Great Expectations,
Yes.
and I've always thought that if there was a book about my life, it would be Great Expectations, like just because of the concept.
Yeah.
And if there was a song, I think it would be I Did It My Way. My parents used to always say that's your song, and I think so. I would claim the book and I'd claim the song. But I don't know about a movie, and I don't know about an actress.
Yeah.
But I think those would be the two. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Cindy, I think that's a nice sort of way to end. Thank you so much for being here today. I love your story. I think you're an inspiration to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, because I think with the world going all digital, you do have international exposure. So people are watching, people are seeing, and it's such a special thing to be able to make a difference. So well done for everything that you have achieved, and may God be with you on the rest of your journey, and be a blessing to many more.
Thank you, Ralph. It's been wonderful chatting to you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
It's been really fun. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So, guys, if you want to get involved with Cindy, actually, I didn't ask you that question. How can people get involved with the Robin Hood Foundation? On socials and
Yes, yeah. I'd say the best way is to go onto Facebook, the Robin Hood Foundation South Africa, or you can email us info@robinhoodfoundation.co.za. And if you want to get hold of me, it's cindynorcott.co.za. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn as well, or Instagram.
Excellent. Well, with Mandela Day coming up, guys, get involved. Once again, Cindy, thank you so much for everything today. And I love the partnership that we have with all the charity events. It's really been a phenomenal partnership, and we look forward to all the things happening in the future. So, guys, until next time, Prost.